All right, back now to an important community conversation. And it's not just our Bay Area community. Youth mental health and the challenges surrounding it are topics hitting home nationwide, even worldwide. I met some Bay Area students who are making their voices heard. They're making some change on this very important subject. Why? So that we don't lose one more life.
I think stigma around mental health mostly stems from people wanting to act like everything's okay, and I think
that's really what actually exacerbates the issue of mental health. It's this cycle of people aren't talking about it, so then when people actually are suffering from it, they don't want to acknowledge it. It's so hard to treat.
I struggled a lot. My anxiety made it extremely hard to do work.
Get ready to meet some heroes throughout this week. These young people right here in the Bay Area decided to step out of the shadows. This is just a small piece of their larger action to speak out. Watch.
Think about the kids you're about to meet.
I want schools to have mental health education worked into the curriculum.
As dreamers, young people,
and I want to help dissolve the stigma around mental health,
who see need in the eyes of their peers.
I want people with mental health issues to have their stories told
and step forward to do something about it.
I'm Terry Delaney, and I want kids to be taken seriously when they come forward and ask for help.
The something they're doing comes in the form of a documentary that sprung up after the suicide of Bay Area soccer star Katie Meyer.
She was a beloved youth member of our Bay Area community, and so to hear about her passing was really devastating.
These kids on this screen tell me stories of young people struggling are everywhere.
How many of you know someone who has taken their own lives or attempted to take their own life? How many of you have had a struggle of your own where this is concerned? How many of you know a young person who has struggled with mental and emotional illness? All of you. So why step forward and do something about it?
I struggled. Sorry. My journey with mental illness was extremely difficult.
Terry tells me they're doing something about it because they know the pain of the problem when it goes unanswered.
It's not a matter of if someone struggles, it's a matter of when. And if we don't have those resources available and kids don't feel like they're getting their support, we're just going to see an increasing number of suicide rates, depression rates.
Stigma reduction is something that can be achieved.
The film, available on YouTube, wants to open conversations and drive down the difficult numbers. Kids, these young filmmakers say, need a seat at the table to be a part of solutions.
People don't expect us to have that maturity level to even have these types of conversations, which then perpetuates the whole issue of the stigma and silence around mental health.
And you know who else saw and celebrated the maturity of our teen filmmakers? Another filmmaker.
You're never too young to change the game.
Movie star turned talk show mogul Drew Barrymore heard about the teens documentary and blasted their message to the world with Ross Matthews.
But if we can give kids the blueprint to talk about this, it will serve them the rest of their lives.
Drew shared her own story about being a teen in the throes of mental and emotional troubles and trauma.
My mom put me away when I was 13. I was out of control.
Barrymore was among the first to open up about mental health struggles as a teen. Her mother reportedly placed her in an 18-month program at a California psychiatric hospital.
It taught me at a very young age that only toxicity comes from sweeping things under the rug.
There, Barrymore says she learned to talk about her problems and to do what Bay Area teens want you to do. Embrace being open. Ask for help.
It changed the rest of my life. I am so much of who I am, from realizing I didn't have to be perfect, that I do have flaws, that we're gonna go through tough stuff in life.
So to you watching, young and struggling, the students who made this Bay Area documentary did it so you will know something crucial. You matter. Your stories matter. And you are creating a world where telling them sets you free.
And may it be so. May all of our kids feel free to talk about these things that are difficult. Joining me now, a change maker, a conversation starter, Charlotte Rosario. She's the founder of Community Photo Booth and the documentary that you can watch on YouTube. We'll get to that in just a minute, how you can watch her documentary. What was behind this? Why did you get started, my friend?
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
Really, I realize there is a stigma around mental illness and suicide through my personal experience of losing my dad to suicide when I was in middle school. And during that time, I didn't realize just how difficult it was for me to come forward about what I was going through with even close friends. And it was all because there was no one else talking about mental illness or suicide. And so that, of course, changed when I heard about the suicide of Katie Meyer, the Stanford women's soccer team captain, and hearing also about close friends going through issues like eating disorders and depression. And so it hit me that this is a widespread issue and we are not talking about it enough.
And you're starting the conversation. Before we move on, I have to ask, what's your dad's name? He appears in the documentary you created.
His name's Joseph.
Joseph. So I want all of you to look at this young lady here on television right now and know that everything she started, the community conversation she started, came from the love of her dad and the loss of her dad. Let's just take a minute to honor that. And really, that's where it all begins, taking whatever hurts us and moving it forward into the world in a way that serves others. I told you before we went on air, there's no nervous in service. Why does this documentary provide a service to young people and their families?
It's all about destigmatizing those conversations and showing kids that it's okay to not be okay. And there is a community out there to support you. You know, no one is perfect. Whether, you see that on social media or you see things online that seem too good to be true, really, we're all just people. And we all have our flaws, as Drew Barrymore said, and it's so important that we own up to it and we come forward, we tell our stories.
Well, and as Drew said, literally, there's nothing more toxic than sweeping these conversations with the things that hurt us under the rug. Where should young people start? It often starts behind closed doors. One of my favorite song lyrics is, "In the quiet heart is hidden sorrow that the eye can't see," reminding us that just under the veneer, just under the surface, we do have kids in crisis, adults in crisis, or adults with kids on the inside in crisis. Where does it start, that first step to getting the help?
I think really it's turning to your loved ones and not only speaking up about yourself, but showing that it's okay for them to come forward, welcoming their conversations and making sure they have a safe space as well, because it goes two ways, really.
How did you get your friends to appear on camera to talk about these things? I mean, there's so many young people that appear in this documentary who represent different segments of our population, from LGBTQ kids to kids who come from varied and diverse backgrounds. How did you get them to step out of their own sort of shells and talk about these things?
Really, I think it's, all about channeling that grief, that pain that everyone goes through in life into action and advocacy. And so I think everyone, not only myself, everyone has some sort of story that they draw that energy from and something that they can speak to. And so, when I gathered my group of friends, we all had our own set of experiences that we wanted to bring to the table. And of course, they all look different. We all have different stories, and it's beautiful when we can come together and share our own unique backgrounds and identities.
You've done it, and I really have to say, as a dad myself, to preteens and teenagers, this is a love letter to your dad.
Yes,
and
it is.
How proud he must be to see you doing well and helping others be well. I am so honored to meet you. Remind our audience how old you are.
I'm 15.
All of this wisdom from a 15-year-old. So this is Charlotte, and you can watch your documentary. What is it called on YouTube?
It's called It's Time We Talk About It.
It's Time We Talk About It. Just go on YouTube and you can find it. And through your work, we're going to make sure that graphic changes. By next year, it's going to be kids who met crisis or kids who overcame crisis. And I want to thank you for being one of the change makers, one of the bridge builders in our community. Her mom's off screen right now. So proud of all of you. What a family. So if you or somebody you know is in a crisis, you can get help from the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. There are people on the other end of that line who love you. They will answer. You can even send a text message. You can call 988. That's an easy way to do it, or send that message by text. And to hear candidly from youth about their struggles with mental health, we're bringing a CBS documentary, a very powerful conversation in our community. It is streaming exclusively for you on CBS News Bay Area. That's Wednesday night at 7:30. Your life matters. You matter. Let's make sure you know to hashtag raise your hand, as it says right there.